welcome to another episode of Badass Clinician Podcast. Last week, I had the pleasure of going to see my friend Jeremy Dinkin down in South Jersey. We record a great podcast for you guys. Jeremy's a chiropractor. He's a rehab chiropractor, so he does a lot of movement. You should know him from Instagram. If you don't know him on Instagram, make sure you check him out. The link is in the show note. But we discussed various things of how he started out pretty much in the middle of COVID, and I was able to grow his practice now he's ready to take on another clinician. So I hope you guys enjoyed. There's a lot of lesson in there and a lot of inspiration as well. What do you learn, and what would you say for people who are looking to form some sort of partnership?
Well, first and foremost, I rushed into that one.
Yeah.
So I got out of school, I went on like a couple interviews, and I was like, I hate this. I got to start my own thing. So started my practice, but I had nowhere to go. Got the LLC. I was like ready to rock. And my old strength and conditioning coach from high school football reached out to me just by chance on Instagram. He's like, hey, saw that you're back home. Come check out my new gym. Because he moved locations. And I've known this guy since I was 14. So I trusted him, and I liked him, and I was like, all right, I'll come through. And he was showing me the gym, and they had an open spot, and he just offered me the room right then and there. I was like, let's do it. Yeah. I didn't give it second thought. I was just like, I want to get started. So that was my first mistake in hindsight, but I was just eager to start. And, the first few months were great. He was trying to refer people. Didn't always happen, but at least he tried. I had my spot. I had a gym. That's all I needed. But towards the end, right, like he saw the potential. I think he went out to a gym in California that did a similar model where it's like the gym owner was also a chiro. So he could bill under his license, like whatever they were billing, right? And it all made sense. He thought he saw an opportunity there where we can use my license and bill things under my license and then like share profit. But again, that's illegal. Yeah. So I tried to explain that to him nicely. He took offense to that. And so I think just my biggest lesson from that was like, wow, I can't be afraid of hurting someone's feelings. I just have to be clear on what the deal is. Yeah. And I've always been kind of shy and like timid of hurting people's feelings or not saying things that they want to hear. And I would always like kind of shy away and hide from just being like direct, like, hey, this is what it is. Like, I'm not doing that. I'm doing this. And that's probably not the best option for me or you. This is what it is. And like, just go from there.
Yeah. Would you say that's more from like a scarcity mindset? Because when I first started out, it was like, oh shit, dude, this is the only shot I have. Yeah. It's like all like 8 miles. Like, oh, I got one shot.
Exactly.
One opportunity.
So yeah, that's actually very interesting because I was a broke student for 8 years, right? Yeah. College and then chiropractic school. Yeah. I wasn't working at all for 8 years. So I think that definitely played a role. And I was like, I was definitely in the scarcity mindset coming out of school. And I also had no idea what I was doing business-wise. Yeah.
How do you even wrestle with that, dude? Just because this is someone you know for a long, long time, but then, there's a morality question, ethical question come into play, but there's also on the opposite side where it's more emotional, where it's like, oh, this is someone I know for a long time, was probably somewhat of a mentor to you growing up and looking to do this, and then you say no, you're going to damage that relationship, and most likely it would be like irreparable in some ways. So how do you get rid of their emotional voice and then go with the logical one?
That was really tough. But I had this like intuitive feeling that like I wasn't going to grow there. And it was tough to relay that message to him because he wanted to be partners for a long time. I think he envisioned like a facility, kind of like I did, working together with like trainers and PTs, chiros, all in one like umbrella, under one umbrella. And when I saw like kind of the direction he was going, and I also was very cautious and aware of how he was with other people. I was noticing that he was burning a lot of bridges with everybody in his circle. Wow. So I, thank God I had the awareness and I saw that happening. And so I kind of like separated myself. And I think the first like tiff with that was I did not select him as my powerlifting coach. And I saw the reaction to that, and it was like, okay, first red flag, right? Yeah. And then I saw like how he would interact with like his little circle, and I was like, all right, another red flag. And so kind of slowly like fizzled out like that way. And then the partnership thing was at the very end, and that was kind of like the sealer. And unfortunately, like I said, I've known him since I was 14. He basically introduced me to heavy lifting. So strong part of my life, and I definitely still like respect him and everything. But the second that shit kind of hit the fan, and I had to think on the go and kind of move here, things actually went a lot smoother. And that stress of like hurting someone's feelings and all that, burning a bridge or whatever it was, thank God it went away. And that was honestly probably holding me back a lot from a lot of things. It was just like unnecessary stress.
Yeah.
And once I got rid of that, like actually the business kind of took off.
Dude, it's crazy because I was talking to my wife about this, where we have like these two types of problem. We have like math problem, which is all logical stuff, thing that can be solved on paper. And we have like drama, which is things that we think up in our head and how are people going to feel, how we're going to perceive. Most likely it has to do with guilt, mostly guilt or like fear of loss of some sort. And there were times where in the beginning, like same thing, where I was in one gym, an opportunity opened up for another gym. Like I got to jump in. I have to be able to do both. So, because I wouldn't be able to do this. And in my head, I was like, all right, if I have both, I can pick which one's better, or I can do both at the same time. And then it'll increase my chances or likelihood of success. Because it makes sense on paper, right?
100%.
If you have more opportunities, then you have more chances to be successful in both. And then what I realized, like, oh my God, I really have to make a decision. I can't be in both places at the same time, because I was like burning candles on both ends.
Yep.
So like this is during COVID too. So I'm like, all right, I got to shut one down, which is a really nice gym in Montclair. And as soon as I shut that one down, I focused on the one in Roseland, and I grew like tremendously, just because I'm like, all right, I can just focus on one thing and I can just do this. And in hindsight, like just coming out from the beginning, all you want to do is you want to be able to pay bills. Like my wife was still in school during that time, so I was responsible for everything. And I like obviously debt, like, and so I was telling her that because we were talking about like hard work and work ethic, and I say like the Natty 5 years ago has way better work ethic than the Natty now, and it'll kick my ass any single day when it comes to like toe-to-toe working hour per hour.
Oh,
because
I agree.
I was doing all the time, but now like if I had to jump in and treat for someone for one of my therapists, dude, I'm spent for the rest of the day. I'm shocked. Like I can't do that anymore. I can do it, but not like what I used to do like 5 years ago.
I fully agree. I'm in the same boat. And it's funny you say the like 2 gym thing. I literally just posted that in our Facebook group for the business. I had so many opportunities, and recently I was listening to a podcast, and like just the power of saying no. I was terrible at that my whole life. Whether it's like weddings or going out with friends.
Wait, multiple weddings?
Oh, this year?
I mean, getting married? You?
No,
I'm just kidding. Multiple wives?
I was like, Justin actually was joking about this, but I was like, he's like, how many weddings did you go to this year? Literally 8 or 9.
Holy shit.
And yeah, like, I mean, that's also like,
that's just eat away your profit margin.
Being able to say no is very powerful. And same thing with like gym opportunities, right? I had like 6 gyms genuinely wanting me in their gym. And I was already here, and I was like, that'd be sick. Like, I'm going to expand RSM. It's going to be cool. And then thankfully I had good guidance from Justin, and he's like, you're going to lose focus. You're going to be spread thin. Like, I would recommend not doing that. And thankfully I listened. And that's, again, when the business took off. And I wasn't like stressed about where I'm going to be. Like, am I going to hurt this gym owner's feelings if I'm here? Or like even stupid stuff like that. It's just unnecessary, like brain space.
And you know what I used to come across is that people would say, I would send people to you, but because you're in another gym, I can. So to me, I used to be like, oh my God, I'm missing out on so much. But the way I looked at it now, I was like, dude, that's extremely selfish. If you know I can do the best job for your clients, but the only thing preventing you from sending your clients to me is your ego, because you think you're gonna lose someone by when they step into the door. I was like, dude, what does that say about your service or your product or how you view yourself?
Exactly.
So I'm like, that's not a me problem, that's a you problem.
Yes. And thankfully I haven't run into that. But I agree, that's all ego.
Yeah, no, you will, because you'll have people who like, oh no, I'm not gonna send people there.
Yeah.
And like ever since we left the CrossFit gym, we still have people who come from there, just because again, like as soon as I left, there were multiple people who tried to go into the gym that I was in, and they just couldn't do it. And luckily for me, we have really good brand loyalty within the community there, so people still come to us whether who's going to be there or not. Right. And I'm obviously not doing it in a malicious way, but I think if you create something so valuable and you solve problems that other people cannot solve, they're going to come to you regardless.
Exactly.
And it's only a matter of time. So the way I see it is like, either you start referring to me and make yourself look good because you point them in the right direction, or you refer them to someone else and they didn't get the result that they want, and then they ended up finding my place,
right.
Then you can look like a jackass because you could have referred them from the beginning.
Exactly. You're wasting time and money, all that.
Yeah. So let's backtrack even farther. You graduated from chiropractic school, what, 2019?
18 December.
18.
Yep. So almost 19.
Okay.
Yeah.
So right then you say you took a couple interviews. Did you even work full-time anywhere before you?
No. I was interning with Justin for my 10th term. Graduated in December. The plan was to work there in January. We came to the agreement that it was just too far.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to be able to commit 6 days. It was just too much. It was an hour and a half each way.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And like you said, I had a fiance at the time who I had to buy her the ring. I had to pay for rent. I had to pay my loans. I had all these bills that I'd never paid before. I was freaking out. And I knew that I needed to make my own thing happen because I wasn't going to take a salary. All the salaries I got offered were $50K or less. Yeah. Which is basically what my wife made as a teacher. So I was like, not happening. So long story short, went on a couple of interviews just to see like what they were offering, if there was a good opportunity. Every place that I Googled sports medicine, total shit show. I was just not having it. So I'm like, this is it. I'm going to jump into the deep end. So I started my thing. Took a part-time job that would just pay me by the day, which was great. Yeah. I mean, the pay sucked, but it was consistent. So I had like the bills to pay for and a little bit of savings, and then I started mine from zero. And so I slowly just built it up. I always gave myself like a year to kind of like build up RSM and then jump off. But right at a year was COVID. So it delayed me a couple months, but my jump off point was like, if I'm working 3 days a week by myself, I can make 10 grand a month. If I go 6 days a week, I'm hopefully doubling that. So once I hit that 10 grand a month like range, I had the confidence to just say, all right, I'm done here. Let me go all in on myself. And actually at that moment, it was nerve wracking, but it was insane how much the business grew. And I got to learn more and do all the like systemic stuff because I had the time. And so now I'm here 5-6 days a week, working on the business, not worrying about other notes and other practices. It's just all me. And then it really grew from there. So it actually was the best thing I ever did was quit there. I should have done it faster. Yeah. But I was a little nervous. So I was just waiting for that like consistent revenue of monthly revenue to be there. And then right when that happened, I was like, it's time. Yeah.
Dude, in hindsight, everyone always say they should have quit.
I know.
It's always that. I should have quit sooner.
Right.
I say the same thing. But I think it's all about taking like affordable risk.
Yes.
Because you can only... It's almost like when you go to a casino, you can only gamble what you have. If you have $20,
unless you're degenerate.
Yeah, unless you're a real degenerate, and then like you just take out loans or whatever it is. But like normal, logical thing to do is like, hey, what can I afford to lose?
Right.
Or I think for me it was like, what can I afford not to lose? Like, how do I cover all the expenses by just doing the part-time thing? And then as soon as I cover my rent, that was my approach. Like, how do I cover all my life expense, and then the rest is just like, okay, this is like a nice to have thing where I know like I can do something about it. Once like the side hustle was able to take over like what I was getting paid as a part-time, I was like, okay, at least if I quit this, I know with this can sustain my bills.
Exactly.
And then from there I was like, all right, now let's just grow from that end.
That's how I felt.
When you started, let's talk about like just the startup mentality in the gym, because both you and I started in the gym. So what were some, like most people, I think even in our old mastermind group, everyone was startup in a gym. Yeah. But it's very similar. I think we all have the similar thing. Like, we hate this sucks. I want to do something myself. Let me find a gym. Now go do this and that. So some of the lessons I've learned along the way was each gym has its own personality, and with that personality, attract different clientele. And those clientele might not be what you wanted to work with. So, for example, like the one gym in Roseland, the clientele was like more my vibe. I can talk about anything. We can relate. We get each other. The other gym, it was more upscale where I couldn't relate to them at all. Like, people were kind of showing up in fur coat in some way. I'm like, dude, like that's not what I do. Yeah. So I had to quickly realize that I was not going to be successful there just because those weren't my main perfect patient. So what were your thoughts on defining or redefining your perfect patient as you started?
That's an amazing question. So I love that. And that's, again, why I rushed into things, and it was kind of, in hindsight, it's always like 2020. But that was a high school performance gym, right? That's not my perfect patient at all. And so I quickly realized that, like, 3 months in, like, there's just, a lot of kids coming here. Like, that's not who I'm trying to sell to and, like, who I want to help. I was helping them, but, like, it was just not my perfect client. Again, I vibed with them, and I was in the football world myself, so I was very good to, like, converse with people in that world. But again, it wasn't like my ideal client. And so luckily, when I got here, this is a completely different vibe, different community, different like sense of community. That was here. It's insanely strong. Like, people, they're, like, supportive. They've known each other for a long time. It's, like, very tight knit. And when I saw that, I that's probably my favorite part about this gym is their, like, sense of community. Yeah, they do events outside together. They're best friends. Like, it's really cool to see. And again, it's a different population too, right? It's like older adults that are trying to stay healthy, trying to stay active. They're pushing crazy numbers at their age. It's awesome, and that's who I relate to now, and, like, that's kind of why I think the business took off as well. Is that I got practice in talking to those people and helping them, and then the word of mouth around the gym, around the area. I feel like that helped me a lot. And so, like, again, going back to the first gym, a high school performance gym. That's all fine and dandy, just not the people that I was trying to work with. Yeah. Right? Because, like, as you know, it's when you're selling to a kid, it's different than selling to a parent, and then you got to sell to both. It's, like, kind of just confusing.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's my world. Like, luckily for me, I just know how to talk to the kids, but then really reach out and talk to the parents. Because you got to go to the person who makes decision in the household. Exactly. I think in any practice, you need to always go to the decision maker in the household. You can be working with, like, 90-year-old, but he or she is not making that decision. It's someone else, right? So for us, what we've been trying to do is, like, all right, how do we get to the person who called a shot? Like, even, like, from the first phone call, we're like, hey, do you mind we ask who's the decision maker? Yeah. Like, is there someone that we can be on the phone with? Will that person be on the same call? So that way we can explain everything and you guys can make a reasonable decision together, something that, everyone understand. And it's part of us being transparent. I think, 100%. Like, just even the idea of ethical sales is being ethical at what we do. You have to be transparent, and you can't be transparent if the person making the decision is not on the phone or in front of you, because the game of telephone, people will butcher it. They'll be like, oh yeah, Dr. Jeremy say I just have to be here, 20 times. Yeah. And I'm like, what? Yeah. And, like, it's when people, and this is another lesson I learned too, when people start, conveying your message to someone else, they will 100% bosh it up.
Oh, every time. Yeah. Every single time.
And that's when disagreement happens. So we always just like, no, we need to talk to the decision maker.
I'm happy to hear that's built into your system.
Oh, dude, it has to be.
It's important.
Because otherwise, you know how it is that if you talk to the husband, and if the wife don't want to make the decision, you get a call 45 minutes later say, hey, my husband just told me about this. How is this possible? You're like, sorry, we should have talked to you instead. And that way you don't waste anyone's time. And it's not being disrespectful. Just say, hey, listen, we want to make sure you make a comfortable decision. Exactly. So how do we get on the same page as fast as possible?
We want everybody to have as much info as possible.
Yeah. And another thing I want to touch back into is, like, obviously the gym with the different culture, different personality. I always say this. I'm super grateful with the gym owner that I work with in Crossroads and Joe, who's very business minded. And by just working with him, he's looking to grow. I think during that time when I was with him, 2018 to 2020, before COVID, he scaled from 2 gyms to 6. Wow! And just being part of that and see how he do it, his system, his process, I'm just absorbing everything. So, like, obviously, in the setting that we both were in, of being in a gym, like, it's a strategic alliance. Yeah. You have to have, if the gym is not growing, your business is not growing. That's not how it works. So what were some of the things you would look for now if someone were to say, hey, Jeremy, I want you to be part of this. What do I need to do to make this worth your while?
Wow, that's another great one. Well, again, talking this gym up, they're constantly evolving, and they're constantly getting new equipment. They're constantly, like, discussing things. I love that about a gym. So they're always looking for the next best thing for their clients. That's what I would probably look for, is somebody who's always willing to change, right? You don't want the old dinosaur that's just doing the same power clean from the floor with the same equipment for years on end, and just that's the thing. Somebody who's willing to change, learn, evolve. Like now they're looking to get like a recovery room that we're going to do together, probably like that, working together like that, just to provide people with like the coolest experience they could do. Like if you have a gym that has badass weightlifters and you got every bar under the sun, and you got a cold plunge now and a sauna, and you got a chiro in-house, massage therapist, all the equipment's always clean. They make it a point to be clean. They have events, like I said, outside of the gym. Like it's all of that plays a role. It's kind of like pain, right? Like it's not just like one QL. Like it's like all these things that come together in rehab, right? That play a huge role. That's kind of how I envision myself with like a team, like a gym. If I were ever to move, like, or start my own thing, that's how I would want it. It's just like all these moving parts that everybody's just growing together.
Yeah. No, I mean, I for me to even add on to that, it's like obviously you have to have a growth mindset business owner that you can work with, that you can balance idea. Because that's the whole thing. Like the place we're at now, we have a strength coach who we partner with, but like our business is completely separate, just like you guys. Like there's no funny business, and we made that clear from day one. But everything that we do, as far as like buying equipment, doing, like we all make that decision together, even from painting and all that stuff. And luckily for me, he's way more handier than I am. So he does all the stuff and I barely do shit. And that's goal from day one. Like as soon as like we know each other, I was like, dude, I'm letting you know right now, if you need to get stuff done, I will pay.
Yeah.
I was like, but just letting you know, we'll split everything. But if you want to do it, you can, but it's not going to be me. And like just extremely transparent. Another thing I contribute the success that we had at the gym and the current place we're at now is just being able to speak the same language and no ego. I think that's the main thing is if you can get into a place where like you and I, if people watch how we treat without the hands-on, all that stuff, they'll be like, no, those guys are personal trainers, they're strength coaches.
Exactly.
And again, for someone who is very, I would say not confident in their skill set as a personal trainer, as a coach, they would find us intimidating. Where people who are super confident in what they do, they would say, you know what? Those guys gets it. Like I would send people 9 out of 10 times because what they're doing is exactly what I would do. So my patients are not getting, or my clients are not getting better, and they can help them, and then they can get them back to where they were. I can then take the torch forward. So I think that's a huge element to be able to transition the patient to the performance side or to the training side, right? Because it's a symbiotic relationship.
That's actually another great point here is like that we're all on the same page, and they know that I'm not like, the old school chiro.
Yeah.
So they have no problem referring to me. If God forbid anything, one of their clients has like, oh, I have a little twinge in my knee. They're like, go see Jeremy.
Yeah.
Right. Like I'm the pain guy here.
Yeah.
Which is awesome because they trust me. They see me train. So I earn the respect that way. And we have this great relationship where I could be like, hey, if you're looking for personal training or you're looking for a nice gym to join, like, look at this gym. But I trust these guys with my heart. Yeah. And they do the same for me. Yeah. So it's awesome. Yeah.
No, it's huge, man. And another pitfall I've seen too, when we talk to like other business owner who work like startup and in this kind of setting is, I hate saying this, but I'm going to say it, is that sometimes we do have ego attached to our doctorate, and it kind of make us kind of like jerks. Yeah. And like for you to be in someone else's business, you're not deserving because you have a doctorate. You're deserving because you have the value attached to what you're able to offer in their business. Right. So I always come in as like, how much value can I provide to the gym? And I don't know if you guys do this. I would highly encourage you and anyone who's in like this kind of setting is to track the attrition rates since you started in here to where it is now. Because as soon as we got to CrossFit Roseland, the attrition rate dropped by around, 8%. And And to me, that's value. Yeah. Now that's more money in their pocket. That's more happy members. That's more members that didn't have to rest or stop because someone else, their doctor, that take a look at their knee for 5 minutes, say you need to stop what you're doing. So those are people that we're able to help with their lifestyle, with their goals, but also we're able to add bottom line revenue, profit to the business we're in.
Very true. Yeah, that's kind of my like selling point when I do seminars and stuff. It's like I want to find a way to keep your members healthy. I don't need anything. I just want to keep your members healthy.
Yeah. Well, you need to. And you're like on the fence And then next thing you know, your wife's like, what are you doing on your phone? You're like, all right, never mind.
Yeah.
And then next, like, it's just that. It's just like, all right, I gotta get back to it. You know how it is. This is a spousal dispute, right?
Yeah.
Where they can be on the phone for 10 hours.
Yeah.
And God forbid you take your phone out for 1 minute.
Like add to,
Yep. All right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Tomorrow.
Yeah. So it's I think having a CRM is a good way to demonstrate value. And it's what you do with the CRM, right? And I don't want to take this too far, but if you talk like, nuclear energy, used it right, it's infinite amount of resources, right? Use it wrong, it's terrible. It's just like CRM. If you use it correctly, you can demonstrate value of like, hey, here's how I can help you.
Right.
Here's the people I've been solving for. Here's someone like you. And for me, I look at it as a bridge for them to realize that they are in charge of their own health and that they can do something about it and that they're not tied down to the narrative that pharmaceutical companies say, old school doctors say, and that they have the ability to be like, you know what? I'm going to take care of this myself. And I can find someone like you or me that can help me get there.
I love that. Yeah, it's the awareness.
Yeah.
Yeah, just constant awareness. And a system to be like a follow-up system too. I'm not amazing with following up.
Yeah.
I'm not. It's just, there's too many things going on sometimes. And I'm like, did I reach out to this person after a week? They're like, that's all set already.
Yeah. But
it's great.
You can follow up because you wear so many hats. So let's count how many hats you're wearing now. So right now it's just you, right? So the CEO, right? Marketer on Instagram. Let's see,
Clinician.
You're doing a clinician. Can't forget that. Operator, sales.
Yep, all of it.
You're wearing all the hats. So
Admin.
how? Yeah, exactly. So let's talk about all these things that you're wearing because I actually have a funny story with this. So when I hire my marketing assistant, she went home and then someone's like, her parents just like, hey, just want to like, who are you assisting? Like you're a marketing assistant. And she's like, I guess I'm assisting Natty, but I was like, well, isn't he a PT?
Yeah.
Like, well, he is, but he's also the owner.
Yeah.
And like she told me the story, so I went in. I was like, each day I'm gonna have different hats that I wear.
Yeah.
I was like, wait, hold on, let me put on my marketing hat. All right, now you can assist me.
Yeah.
Wait, hold on, let me put on this hat. So like, it's so funny, man. It's normal. So what are the plans you're doing now to slowly hand those hats away?
Well, I did hire an admin. She's still in training. So actually, that's very exciting because now I can kind of delegate some things to her. She's going to be in charge of the CRM, which is good. I mean, we'll both be involved, but she'll be like taking care of like plugging people in, making sure the right thing goes out and all that. But down the road after that, I'm looking to do maybe some online advertising, which I've never done. And so that is going to increase all the leads, hopefully. And then after that, I'm going to look to get a marketing assistant. I am doing all the posts. I'm doing all the emails, like all of it. So it gets overwhelming. I'd love to have someone to help me with that. And then a therapist, slowly as we get more patient volume with all that stuff, get another therapist. And then from there, hopefully a sales director that knows the system, that knows, what we do. Ideally, I'd get somebody who's been a patient, right? I try to do that with the admin. But unfortunately, that one didn't work out. But down the road, like sales wise, I want somebody that's a believer in this, has been through it, knows, kind of what we're all about. And then from there, build like a really good, strong team. Yeah.
I think to even offer some advice is that you don't even need to have like the patient themselves work for you. Maybe just a friend or family who have heard of you.
Right.
Like one of our best employees, like she was not a patient, but her whole family was outpatient. And so she gets it. So like, I think that's been a huge help. And it's so hard to, in the beginning, you have that tendency to hire anyone off the street. And what I realized when I do that, A, it doesn't align with a core value. And B, as soon as we part ways, there are bodies everywhere.
Right.
So I'm just like, now, like, I'm just like, all right, show me where the bodies are.
Yeah.
Like what? And like this time where like we let someone go, I'm just like, and like someone bring up like, oh, do you know that this happened? This wasn't taken care of? And like my response was always like, is that it? Because I expect more.
Yeah. I know that is tough to think about, like going down that road. But yeah, I'm not opposed to like friends and family. I just want to build a tight community, a good team. Like you said, I don't care where they're from, as long as they believe in the system, they believe in what we do. I'm all for it.
Yeah. So all right, I think this is a good point. How do you verbalize your beliefs to people?
Oh, without talking shit?
well,
No,
I mean, I say how. Just tell me how.
No, that's a good question, actually. I like to be the guy who's not, so first off, white coat syndrome was always a thing that I had personal vendetta against. So, we're wearing gym stuff, right? Like,
Yep.
I never wanted to be the strict white coat, like coming with the paper, that fear-mongering kind of tactic. I want a relaxed environment. I want results. So everybody that I'm surrounding myself with is spending on education, looking to push themselves and be the smartest and best person they could be. That is huge for me. That culture-wise is what I want. And so somebody who's doing that, somebody who chooses conservative care over like just going right to like the medicine or the going under the knife, like those ideas are in my opinion outdated. And so I kind of relay that message in a nicer way sometimes. But yeah, like conservative care, active care, I like to be kind of like the model of health. And as a leader, like I'm working out hard, I'm tracking my diet, I'm doing all those things that play a role into health, not just rehab. I'll do my stretches and everything, but like I want to be the full package. And everybody on the team, I hope cares about all that stuff as well. And so that when people come in, they see like wow, great team. People are all like, they care about health. They care about like taking care of their body, and kind of just that for me is like the most important.
Yeah. Dude, I love the white coat syndrome. I always say like, if you're wearing a white coat to like cover your guts, you're not the prime example of health.
Exactly. And I had bad experiences with that. And so I'm sure there's white coat guys out there that are amazing, or girls. But for me, it was like I had some bad experiences where just because they threw that thing on, it was like, again, ego, like talking down to people, being very short, not really being helpful, and just that whole stigma. I was not a fan. And so right away, like when I started my practice, I was never in like college, like it was just this. Because I wanted people to feel comfortable. I'm just a regular human, just like you are, right? Like we're all active here, trying to be the best and trying to get better healthy wise. Like there's no reason I'm like talking down to somebody or like, holding the clipboard with like the face too, like none of that.
I feel like as a business owner, and this is for me personally, I struggle a lot with almost like an identity crisis, right? Where you want to show up professionally, you want to have the level of expertise where people like obviously like respect what you say. You don't be too laid back where you're like, oh man, like I'm too laid back now, I'm losing the credibility that I have. But you also don't want to go way the opposite of the white coat syndrome where you've seen people on Instagram where all they do is talk shit. All they do is like curse and all of that stuff, and they just scream at people and they just say, we gotta smash this, we gotta do this, we gotta do that. And that's like almost the opposite end of the healthcare spectrum, right? So for me, like through social media, I think when I started, social media was not as big as what it is now. When I get on there, I'm like, man, like, should I be doing that? Like, because some people, when they go really extreme, they get more likes, they get more of this.
100%.
And then, luckily for me, I have a good friend, Shantae, the movement maestro. So Shantae's a really good friend. And then she said one thing to me that I'll never forget, where she was like, listen, it's not about the amount of your followers, it's about the depth of your follower. And that's what you want to tailor to.
Exactly.
It's the people that follow your message. Those are the people that you want to serve. And to me, it's like, oh, great. Rather than me changing who I am, my identity to cater to the masses, which is catering to no one anyways,
right.
I might as well just hone in my message, really state what I believe in, and then from there, hopefully attract the right people to, my page, to my website, and to my clinic. And then from there, the pressure's kind of off because now I don't have to like do what the pain sign folks say, or I don't have to go with the super manual guy say, like, I'm just like, no, this is me. This is what I do. That's
such an amazing statement because I struggle with that. The whole first 2 years of my practice, I was trying to impress clinicians, right? And like, I didn't know, I was the same thing. Am I going to be too pain science with this? Am I going to be too biomechanical model with this? And I'm like, why do I even care what the other clinicians think? Like directing your message to your perfect client, that again was a huge stress reliever. Monkey off my back. Like and you've seen me recently, right? Like now it's shorter posts, it's more digestible, it's quicker, it's not in depth. Like I used to write crazy posts that were way too in depth that nobody probably ever read. And sure enough, it wasn't getting anywhere. And then on the opposite side of that, being contrarian, right? Gets followers, likes, gets engagement. And that's also tough to deal with because I could go against the grain all I want, but like then you look like the bad guy to your patients. So like it's two different worlds. And I kind of followed your way, like just speaking to my perfect client and honing in, trying to get depth with that, game changer. And now I'm not as stressed.
Yeah, dude, I think at the end of the day, I was going to write a post on it was clinician create contents that often is pretty much like self-aggrandizing,
Exactly.
where you just want to pat this. Oh man, what a
so
great
true.
post. Oh man, I did it.
I know.
That's great. Oh, I only have 5 likes.
Exactly.
Sorry,
It's
I did it.
But I'm the man now.
Yeah.
Or it's like you're waiting for every post to go viral too. Getting that out of my head was like another game changer because I was like, oh man, this one sucked. But like maybe not a lot of people saw it. Or maybe it didn't resonate with that many people. Yeah. And then the next one would be good. And I'm like, this is amazing, right? Yeah. Like so getting that like mentality out again, having like no pre-bias of like this should be the best post ever. It's just like you're just doing it for again like awareness, consistency and awareness. Yeah. Like, hey guys, I'm here, I'm trying to provide value, this is it.
Yeah. So like well obviously both you and I are married and I've been with my wife. We're going on 13 years, married 3 years.
Wow.
And I love just seeing parallel of like marriage and business and Nick just got engaged. So I was talking to Nick, I was like, dude, life get a lot easier. Right? I said it to you. Like life get a lot easier when you only have to impress one woman. And all you have to do is you just go into depth of your relationship and just try to find ways to impress her more and more or like to serve her more, to do as much as you can. And I look at the same way as my perfect patient. Like, how do I just impress that one group of people all the time, show up all the time? How do we keep dating? How do we keep the spark going?
Yes.
Because, and this is how I see it, like most people, and I wholeheartedly believe this. I would love to hear your thought on this as well, is that when people come in the door, people's like, oh man, I got a new client, a new patient. I was like, no, you haven't. Yeah. I always say it's mere luck that they show up into the door and that they happen to walk in. We had an opportunity to work with them. We have not won anything yet unless they refer people because now they really believe in what they do. If they haven't referred their family members, we haven't won them over because they don't trust us yet. We just got so lucky that they heard of us and it's the last resort and they still iffy about it. So to me, it's like, no, it's almost like when you date someone, just because you're like, they're your girlfriend doesn't mean they're gonna be your fiance. Exactly. Doesn't mean they're gonna marry you. And all. So I'm like, all right, how do we go deeper? How do we keep impressing those people? How do we make sure that they can look back and be like, that was for me? Like your wife has no questions. Like, no, Jeremy, there's billions of guys in the world, great beard, nice hair, and your wife can be like, no, that's my guy. Yeah. The way he slick his hair is different. He's unique, right? So like, how do we do that without patience?
Dude, that's amazing. That's a great parallel. I never thought of that. But I think that's exactly how it goes, right? Like you're just focusing on one specific person, right, for that, and one specific niche for your business. And again, like taking the stress off of yourself. Like not everybody that walks in the door is going to be a patient, right? And thankfully for me, I've built something here where like most of my clients become like good friends. That for me is the marker of like, we did good. They trust me. They'll refer family members. And when they do refer family members, I'm like, wow, you just sent me your wife. Like you really trust me. So that's, again, like that's my goal is to be friends with people. Like, I'm not kidding. Like 90% of my practice becomes like a friend and we're on like a text basis, which is awesome. And it's a very like good community, but back to like the messaging thing, how do we figure out how to make that one person happy? That's changed my marketing game tremendously. I used to do powerlifting events and I would then do like a hip thing and I was like just all over the place. It was just like basically guerrilla marketing. Yeah. And now, like I was saying earlier, my videos are targeted at literally I'll write down my perfect client on paper and be like, does this video hit all these pain points and all these things? And now it makes more sense, right? And now those videos get more engagement. Now I'm actually getting more leads from Instagram from that age group, which is tougher. Right, because Instagram supposedly like age 25 to 35. My perfect patient's a little older than that. So, and I'm getting those people now from Instagram, which is, again, it's like it sounds crazy, but you just have to do it, and then you see the results, and if it's working, like I'm going to keep pumping those out.
Yeah, I think one thing that I was struggling with in the beginning was if someone come in and they're not my perfect patient, I would still say yes, just because it was money. I'm just saying, like, dude, like growing up in like, again, I immigrated in Thailand, so everything was all about money. like my mom's like, no, we gotta save money. We gotta do this. This is a really funny story. So when we first moved here, Shrek was like a huge movie. First Shrek, right? This dated me a little bit. Burger King has this campaign where you get green ketchup. And I'm like, I've never seen green ketchup before. So, but like my sister and I went to the mall. We're like, Mom, can we get this Happy Meal of Burger King so we can get the green ketchup? She's like, begrudgingly, she's like, fine. So she purchased it, and then she proceeded to calculate the US dollar currency to the Thai currency, which is the baht. At that time, was $1 equal to 40 baht. So then she calculated that and said, by the way, this costs, I don't know, 2,000 baht. And then like that was like, we were like, some of my family members were living off that for a week. And then she was like, enjoy. So for me, as you can see, that's like really messed me up financially. Right. So everything that I do when I first started my practice is like, oh my God, no, that's money leaving away. Right. And I calculated back in baht. I was like, no, that's a lot of money. so I'm like, all right, dude, that was the hardest thing I had to let go. It was messing me up. So because I would be so miserable, like I hate using this term, but sometimes you get a patient who's not the right fit, and they kind of take a little piece of your soul when you treat them.
Well, that you said that. I mean, that's a real thing.
Yeah, so I have to be like, hey, no, not the right person. I have, like, the first time I did it, I'm like, oh, that sucks. I'm losing money. And then, like, the more I do it, I'm like, oh, that's not that bad.
No.
Because then the right one comes through the door. So how do you overcome that? Because I know a lot of people are going to need that
again, same thing, man. I had a crazy childhood. Yeah. I lived in two of the richest places on earth, and then we went to zero after, like, some crazy things that happened. Too long to explain, but I've had similar, I've had a Christmas where I had everything in the world, and I had a Christmas where we had 2 gifts. Yeah. And just us. So it was very hard for me, and I'm glad. So everything happens for a reason, right? I did that first mastermind, and I think that kind of triggered my relationship with money thing. And then as I dove deeper and read more things and got into more masterminds, my relationship with money has been thankfully repaired. But it was very bad. And again, tough. Again, you want patients on the schedule. You want everybody that comes in to be a patient. And you're like, if you see someone go or someone doesn't reschedule or they say, no, this is too expensive, you drive yourself nuts. But letting go of that, game changer. Again, like I'm not, the unnecessary stress that we put ourselves through. And like, that's just one piece of, like you said, all the hats. So if you can eliminate stress from one little hat at a time, like that was a good stressor that I kind of like let go of finally. Took me 3-4 years, but finally got to a point where I was like, oh yeah, this person doesn't really fit in here anyway. And like, why was I so stressed about getting them to come in? And then, like you said, your favorite client walks right in, strolling in, and you're like, oh my God, this is so fun. This is fun. It makes it fun again, right? It makes your job fun. It makes working with the person like enjoyable, like you're on the same page. It's more efficient. It's more efficient work. It's more efficient like for everybody. And so, like it was tough to let people go and like say, yeah, no, this is not like, it's probably not the best option. Like, I can send you in the right direction at least. That for me took 3 or 4 years of getting out of like that mindset of like, I need everything. I need to save. I need to do this. It's like getting out of like the money mindset and like focusing on the person in front of you and just seeing what's best for them. That's been a very good mindset shift for me.
Yeah, I think getting out of the money thing is huge, man, because again, we all started this because we needed the money to pay for some stuff. We all started from financial stability at some point. And the way I looked at it is always the financial stability has to then lead to something else. Like, again, one of my favorite Christmas movies is A Christmas Carol. And when you look at Scrooge, it's always money driven. And then at the end, you see his like ex-partner coming like, hey, dude, don't mess this up. This is what I did with my life. There's really no sense of purpose. Can't take everything with you. And for me, you don't have that greater purpose of trying to do something else. You're just in pretty much a bottomless pit of just trying to get more and more and more. And then that's just something that would never satisfy you. I mean, again, it's why you're going back to like, it's almost like just eating to eat. It's just gluttony. It's just sin. It's just sinful at some point. At some point, you don't need that kind of money. And what I've been doing more for myself, like with the more time I have, like obviously working on myself, reading more, but really going back to like, all right, what am I really doing it for? Like, let's just say the money thing is not a thing. Like, let's just say we live in a world where there's no money required. Am I going to show up again still doing this? And the answer for me is always yes.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I hit the lotto, I always drive past the lotto. Oh, if I hit that, I'm like, yeah. Like I'll show up at 10 instead of 9.
Yeah.
I was like, that's okay. Like I'll still treat my employee the same. Like, you know, like if they all come in and like they want like $1 million raise, like no.
Yeah.
Like that's because I'm not helping them grow either.
Right.
That's another thing. So I'm always saying like, all right, if I can do that and the money is not needed, will I do it every day? Yes. The answer is yes. All right, good. I'm on a good path. And what I'm trying to do now in my life is how do I filter out some stuff where I get to do challenging, fun stuff that support my life. I think that's a win.
Right.
If you can do that.
100%. And that people ask me all the time, like, do you really enjoy the gym that much? I'm like, yeah, I do. I help people in the gym and I love lifting myself. Mm-hmm. It's a perfect combo. I'm never like, oh, gotta go to the gym again. Like I enjoy being in the gym. Yeah.
I mean, there's some day I'm not ashamed to admit, like there's some day I'm like, man, I am dragging ass. I was like, I just gotta move. The first 5 minutes is always tough. I got in the habit of like doing cold shower every morning.
Oh, nice.
Dude, the first 30 seconds, you're just like double dashing your way in. You're like, am I going in? Am I going in? And then as soon as you get in, you're like, all right, great. I'm glad I'm in.
Yep.
And then
after, you're amazing.
Yes.
Amazing.
Same thing as a gym. And again, going back to our industry, is always a grudge purchase. No one wants to be here. Yeah. Like, I don't care if you're like, has 80,000 followers, whatever it is. No one wants to see you.
Right.
You know, like
for an hour.
Because they'd rather be doing some stuff.
Right.
And again, no one wants to go to the gym. In a perfect world, if someone said, hey, here's a pill, you look jacked, you look ripped, people would take that any day. No one wants to put themselves to hard things. And when I realized that, like, hey, people don't want to be here, so I have to make sure that the experience is so great that they're like, all right, it sucks, but it was really good.
Right. I agree. And that's why, like I said, I go out of my way to make it very personable, make sure they're having fun for the hour. And that's why I think most people end up trusting me and then becoming friends, because they're like, oh, I could talk to this guy. He knows what he's doing and he's helping me. I feel better when I leave. It's a good experience. Right. And so that for me is priority, the patient experience. How
do you define your perfect patient? How do you know when that your perfect patient walk into the door? Do you have like a framework? You're like, hey, how do you come up with that to know that that's the right person?
That's an amazing question. So that happens in the discovery visit. Actually, maybe even before that, if we get on a call, I just find out about the person. Like, obviously age and all that stuff and what their goals are, what their main concerns are. Those things are like vital. Right. And a lot of other clinics don't ask those things. I like to dive deep into like, what's your training goals? What are you like, what's going to make you feel successful? If you do a session or if you do a plan of care with us, like, how does it look like after? How does it look like if we don't do anything? Right. Like if you're going to keep on with this pain, like asking those questions kind of clear the way for all the other noise. And like, we will really get into like the internal reason of why they're coming. Right. Like, people that care about their health and they have, let's just say a 55-year-old, he's about to have a grandson. He can't bend from the floor. His worry is like playing with the grandson, right? Like that's an important thing for me. Now we can kind of reverse engineer and kind of give him a good plan so that he can prepare for that, be strong enough, be mobile and all that, so that he's not fearful of like bending and picking up the child. Stuff like that, like getting to the root cause of why they're actually coming to me. Yeah. I get to the root cause of the pain. I got to also get to the root cause of why they're coming to see me. Yeah. And that helps narrow it down.
Yeah. I think I love all of that. And we do that in the beginning all the time. But I think as I was reflecting back last year where we had some drop off and I was trying like, what happened? Why did we not serve them well? What happened? Did we lose sight? And I think something that I came up with was because we kind of stopped relating the achievement to what they wanted to do. Because you know how it is when people start feeling good, they're like, oh, I can do these things now. But what we need to do is like, if we can go deep from the beginning and constantly keep digging deeper to like, hey, now that you can pick up your kids, your grandkids, like, all right, cool. What will you do when they grow to be 10-year-old? Because funny thing about kids, they keep getting bigger, So like, are you resilient enough to do that? So now like we create like a whole roadmap where we have to like, we celebrate the little thing, but we also like, hey, you accomplished this, but the next task, the next dragon you have to slay is this. Right. Because if you slay that, then you get to do this. And you get to do this, and you get to do this. You're closer to doing this. So like we have to relay that all the time. And I had a conversation, again, with a friend of mine where it is, again, going back to, again, just to sum it up, of your white coat syndrome, where people take pride in seeing patient least amount of time because it's like, oh, I'm that good. I don't have to see that person
man.
1 time a month. That's
Yep.
me. I'm a 1 time a month guy because I'm that good. It's me or Dumbledore. Which one? Like, yeah, I'm debating, right? And a friend of mine just like, dude, if it takes us hypertrophy, you train 4 days hard for 6 to 8 weeks, then you have hypertrophy.
And I'm still small.
But again, but why would we recommend doing
Once a month? I know.
Once a week, once every other week? Like, are we actually serving the person in front of us, or are we serving ourselves?
This was my whole marketing thing as I started. I had no idea what I was doing.
Yeah.
And I was just taking what I saw my original mentors posting, and I was like, get out of pain fast, right? Like that was like the whole shtick.
Yeah.
And I took that and I realized about a year and a half into practice, this is the opposite message that I want to send. This is bad. Because it's not like that. And again, it's an ego thing. Like, oh yeah, 1 session, let me fix everything for you.
Look at these
things. Yeah. It's like crazy.
Yeah.
So I shot myself in the foot for the first about year and a half with all my messaging. Because it was like, get out of pain fast. I even had it on like posters. I would, that was like the whole thing. And I quickly realized like, this is not the message I want to send.
Yeah.
This is terrible.
Dude, we did a pretty extensive video on that where if you're in a pain business, you're competing against Tylenol, which costs $2.
Yeah.
Why would you want to do that?
100%.
Yeah.
It's like, and I didn't know any of that. I wish you told me that when I was
No, we just talked about this because someone, a friend of mine, got into like some sort of debate with, again, clearly more clinician,
right?
Because that's what clinicians do now. They debate each other on Facebook group rather than going out and treat patient and all of that stuff, or spend time with family.
Just have to be right.
Yeah, have to be right. They'd rather be right on a Facebook group than actually to just be a normal person. But they were like, no, you can't. You have to market the pain relief. The pain relief is what we do. I'm like, you're gonna fight over that? That's where you want to win?
Come on.
Like the guy who solved pain problem, like, dude, like Tylenol costs nothing.
Yeah.
Pharmaceutical company pretty much just market all of that already. And if you can get out of, like, why would you want to be the same message as pharmaceutical company?
No.
Right? And it's all about lifestyle changes, habit building. And that's why when we recommend people to come multiple times a week, it's not because that's the, because there's a pain sign model where say, hey, you don't need to come multiple times a week. But then again, all the book they always recommend is Atomic Habits. So like you can't recommend that book and then recommend people to come in once a week. No, like habits takes time.
Exactly. I agree. And that's the exact like example I give is like, how long do you think it'll take you to get abs? Is it overnight? Is it 1 session? No. So we got to give this thing time. It's not like a snap your finger and your back pain's gone. There's a lot of things we got to work on, and we'll get there. Like pain is the first thing I want to get rid of, but now let's build on that and keep it there. That's kind of how I explain it to people.
Yeah, and it's huge, man. I think us as business owner, but also as clinician first, we need to really hold in our message. And I think we do a lot of letting other people dictate what we do because we are too busy fighting with each other in some way. Where, like, again, going back, if you and I treated, our treatment would probably be similar. Most people might say, oh, yo, Jeremy's a PT.
Right.
And they're like, oh, Natty's a chiropractor. Like, but again, like the outcome is what we want for the patient, right? Is we're trying to do the things that they want to achieve. And that's our job. Like we're not here to, again, pat ourselves on the back. It's good to do that from time to time, but really the whole point is to, hey, can I help you, the patient, pat yourself in the back for making this right decision to take care of your body and not to succumb to all this fear-based narrative.
Right. I agree.
Yeah. So as we're closing off, because we got to live, what's next for you, man? What are you trying to do? I love hearing aspiration. I think just like obviously being in this office is great because again, I started similar path with you. You started in a smaller room. We both have dramas, but I love to hear like what are you looking to accomplish? So just give people hope.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking to build this. Right, I showed you the room there we got. So looking to slowly like build the practice, build the team. I had the option, to just kind of milk the single practitioner model as far as I can go. But I think I want to take a step back from like total revenue wise. And invest that back into the practice now and start to build a team, start to make this nicer. Like I said, I'm going to remodel this room, that room, and build RSM here And then on top of that, I'm also doing the business coaching now with Justin for students coming out of school that want to do this model. So those two things together, it's awesome. Like, I can't believe that I get to teach now. It's nuts.
Yeah.
I'm in charge of like the Facebook group, and I really see that kind of taking off in the future, just because more and more people are seeing this model, and more chiros are seeing, how it is to be more of like a rehab based chiro. And it's cool to see. And it's just in the bigger picture, it's a very small niche, but it's actually a huge niche now in chiropractic. So helping those people kind of see this side of things, you don't have to, go take that crappy job and work in a clinic that's seeing 90 people a day. This is possible, and I like to show people, like you said, it is possible.
Yeah.
I started this from zero patients, and slowly built it up, and now I get to like educate them, build my practice, and kind of lead by example and show them what I'm doing, and eventually down the road, hopefully have a facility where it's like even a bigger team, and hopefully an elite level gym. We'll see about that one, but those are my goals long term.
And I think it's great, man, to have you as a mentor to the younger generation. I think it's great because you're really easy to talk to. You're very transparent. And I think the one thing that people not often do, especially in coaching and business, is they don't share the struggle. They want to make it look so easy.
Right.
And they want to say, oh, you have to start a cash-based thing and you'll be sailing the sunset and then all your problems are gone. It's like, no, like, dude, your problem is still there.
Yeah.
If anything, there's more.
Easy.
There are more problems because everything is on you now. And I think just have someone like you to be like, hey, here's what, and I always tell people, the advice is like, oh, you want to make X amount of money? It's always like, what are you willing to give up? Because it comes at an expense.
It definitely does. And I've learned so much over the years, and I really didn't know what I was getting myself into. You go to chiropractic school and you want to be like, just like you said, like a clinician, you want to help people, you want to do what that is. Then you don't realize if you start your practice, it's like CEO, marketing director, sales director, all those hats. You have to learn and work at it, or else, things start to fall apart.
Yeah.
And like learning that side of things was not only good for personal growth, but like everything. Like I've taken so many lessons from that, and been able to live the life that I want to live. I want to continue to do that. Now we have a family, right? And second kid on the way. So being able to like not stress myself out with like 90 patients a day, go home to the family, have quality family time. Like that's my goal. And to have the time to do it and not be married to like one thing that's like a crazy machine, just 24/7 nonstop. Like now it's like an efficient practice. We're doing well, and I still have the time to spend with my family. Like that for me was number one. Awesome,
man. Last question. What are your thoughts on work-life balance as a business owner?
Damn. So I love this question because I talk about it a lot with Justin. Yeah. And
I know Justin too.
Yeah. I if you ask my wife, I don't have any. It's 24/7, honestly. Even if I'm like, home and it's like, after hours, like I make myself too available. And I do, like I just said, I have my family time and stuff. But like if I'm home, it doesn't mean I'm not going to answer people. I'm always answering people. Like you said, we are a different practice. So like I'll get people sending me their squat technique. And like, I'll peek down and be like, oh, we can fix this a little bit. Right? It's nonstop. And then building the practice. Like I used to never block off time to just build the practice. I do that now in my work days, but I used to do that at home. And I would spend hours like, working on whatever marketing thing I was going to do next. But now it's tough. Like I don't like to make it church and state. It's just life. That's kind of how we discuss it with Justin. It's like just life happening. And then on these days, I'm going to work on the business. On this day, it's going to be daddy daycare day. And the business is doing well. So like it's working. But I'm not going to be like, I'm separating this and I'm doing this and I have to balance it out. Like whatever necessary for the business, whatever necessary for the family. And it's always just going to go like that.
Yeah, it's tough, man. I think that it's not a balancing act; it's a juggling act.
Yeah, it is juggling.
You're constantly juggling 24/7.
Right.
You just pray that you don't drop something. Yeah. And when you drop it, it's not a glass ball. Right. It's a rubber ball.
Right. No, trust me. We family wise, we make sure we have our trips planned for the year. We make sure that I'm home at least 1 or 2 days a week, all day with the baby. Just to give my wife a break, So it's a good. We have a great team over there.
No, dude,
we have a great team at RSM and at home. So it's
you need that.
Yeah,
you need that. Like I wouldn't be where I am without my wife. Like
no,
her support means so much. Like last year I traveled pretty much every single month, except for like 2 months. And dude, it's tough.
Yeah.
And again, we don't have any kids yet. We just have a dog and all that. But still, like she has her own career.
Mm-hmm.
She works from home, and it's a lot. And so if you don't have that kind of support, it's a struggle. And I've seen, and I always think this, like I'm truly thankful because I've seen people who build great businesses, but then sacrifice their family life, and I don't want that. Like it doesn't mean that much to me.
Right. Exactly. And that I was teetering on that like a little bit. I was going too hard in the paint, and I was just 24/7 thinking about the business. So like you said, juggling, right? Like instead of making it like a life work balance thing, it's just like, well, let me just, do a little bit of this side now. Right. And not going 100% with the business 24/7. I actually have a phone lockbox at home that my wife got. So no Instagram for 2 hours, no phone, no emails, just throw it in there. It's like play with the baby and that's it.
Yeah. No, I think it's great. You need that.
Yeah.
Like, again, for people who watching, be like, oh, you don't have self-constraints. Like, dude, try running your business and then not answering DMs. And then as you're overcoming your fear of losing money.
Yeah. All that.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, dude, thank you so much for having me, man.
That was amazing.
I appreciate it.
Thank you. That was